Yo, what's going on, guys? So, today I'm making this video because a lot of people didn't understand my last video and they don't understand gematria and numbers and all that. So, I wanted to make this video to bring that up, to explain that, and also because new information has came out about the case. So, this will probably be my last video on Pop Smoke unless more information comes out in the future. So, which it probably will, but I'm gonna try to make this quick. So, first, I'm gonna explain gematria and why it's important and why it matters because people don't understand why it's so important. So, everything in this world has to do with a number. Like we live in the matrix. Let me know if you want me to make a whole video about that because that's a whole conversation in itself. But a matrix is basically numbers. Like a simulation is numbers. Like a computer, everything is all programming with numbers. And on top of that, your birthday is a number, your name is a number, every letter is a number. Everything is numbers, bro. Math is all numbers. Math is super important, but the crazy thing is that in school they don't even teach you the most important part, which is gematria and numerology. You ask a teacher that, and they're literally not allowed to talk about that for this exact reason because that's how they script everything that goes on in this matrix or simulation, whatever you want to call it. So recommend you guys go watch the two movies I recommended last time, which is Murder by Numbers and Jim Carrey's movie called The Number 23, and also go watch The Matrix, all three parts. So now that I got that out the way, um I also wanted to bring up a couple things that I forgot to mention in my last video. So the first thing is when I was talking about X and how that relates. So I said that Pop Smoke's Genius interview was released on June 18th, 2019, which is the day that X died. And they said that X died in a robbery, and then TMZ also said that Pop Smoke died in a robbery, which is a lie that I'm gonna get into in a bit. And they were both 20 when they died. So that's kind of weird. I feel like that's connected in some way. And they always try to blame it on jealousy and like gang violence and all that. And if you notice, um they didn't do that with Juice WRLD because they knew that he had no history with a gang or any of that. So if he ended up shot or robbed or anything, it wouldn't make sense. So they had to do it with something that related to him, which was drugs. So another thing I forgot to mention is that all those connections I made in the last video involving Deadpool. And the last picture that Pop Smoke posted on his story was in a pool and he was found dead hours later. So that's Deadpool. And moving on, with the Kobe thing, this is another thing I forgot to mention. So, Pop Smoke died 24 days after Kobe, and Kobe used the jersey number 24, and then Pop Smoke has 8 letters in it. Kobe also used the jersey number 8. So I don't know how anybody can explain that. All right, so moving on. The new information that we're getting is that Pop Smoke lived in a gated community with a bunch of security at the front. So if you ever been in Beverly Hills and Hollywood, you know that it's super secure, bunch of security everywhere. There's no way to get in. So this had to be an inside job, or the security had to be in on it and let them in, because how can you just let 6 people in and not one of them noticed? Like, especially since they had masks and hoodies and stuff, it's obvious that they're going to do something at 4:30 in the morning. So that's really weird. Another thing is the surveillance video that the cops are talking about. I want to know why they aren't releasing it. Like, why isn't it released to the public so we can investigate? And my theory is that they're either editing it, or they just don't want us to see it at all. Because if you guys remember, with when X died, it took like so long for the video to come out. And then when Nipsey died, same thing. It took like weeks for the video to come out. So they could have done all kind of manipulations and edits to the video during that time. So that's what I feel like they're doing right now. So that's that. Another thing is I feel like 50 Cent is really involved in this because right when Pop Smoke died, he said he something about jealousy. And how the hell does 50 Cent already know that it had to do with jealousy? Like this could have been anything. Like how does he know that? There's no way to know that unless he was in on it or unless he knew that it was going to happen. Another thing is that 50 Cent was mentioned in a lot of Pop Smoke's last interviews. Go watch all of Pop Smoke's last interviews. They kept asking him questions about 50 Cent for whatever reason. And I don't know why, because he doesn't sound like 50 Cent in his music. He's not related to 50 Cent. Like, they don't have music together, nothing. So there's no reason for them to bring up 50 Cent. So I feel like it was a sacrifice for 50 Cent so that he can get publicity and more ratings on his show Power. And speaking of that show Power, if any of you guys have watched it, you know that it's mainly about like violence and a bunch of stuff, but something major that happens a lot in that show is Pops get smoked by their son. So Pop Smoke, like, how is that a coincidence? Like, this is all connected. Another thing is 50 Cent has the same last name as Pop Smoke, which is Jackson. So what are the odds of that? And they're both from New York. So I feel like that's not a coincidence. Also, coincidentally, 50 Cent was having a major press run recently. Go check. There was so many interviews like a week before Pop Smoke died with 50 Cent. I don't know why, the timing just seems creepy to me. So that's weird. That's super weird. And yeah, go look up all that and let me know if you guys find any more things related with 50 Cent, because like 50 is a really sketchy person. If you guys remember, he's done a lot of sketchy stuff. Like his name 50 Cent, he stole that name from another person. Like everything about his career is just sketchy. So go look into that. And another thing is that the labels really profit off of their artists when they die while they're signed. So if you guys remember, X was signed when he died. So all those albums they released after, except for Bad Vibes Forever, the label profited from. And I'm pretty sure they got a fat check for that. So the labels are happy when their artist dies. And I feel like the label really had something to do with this as well, because what are the odds that his album just dropped like a couple days before he died and it hits number 7, and now that he's dead, I'm pretty sure it's at number 1. Last time I checked it was on number 2, but pretty sure now it's at number 1. So they're getting a lot of money off of his death right now. More money than if he was alive, which is just sad and disgusting, but that's how the corporations work. They just care about the money. They don't care about the people. So, last thing I wanted to say was, oh yeah, another thing was, his merch literally dropped the day before he died. Is that a coincidence? That his merch drops a day before he dies. So obviously all his fans, now that they hear that he's dead, they're gonna go buy all the merch. So this just all seems like a money grab. And his biggest hit is called Welcome to the Party. And he died after a party. Like that night, there was a party at his house, and then he died that next morning. So I don't know where the odds of that. Another thing is the cops or TMZ, I don't know who, but when the story first came out, they were saying that there was 2 suspects, and then a couple hours later they were saying it was 5, and then they started saying it was 6, and now they're saying it's 4. So notice how the numbers always change. Like don't give a number if you don't know exactly what it is. Like I always find that weird. Every time somebody big dies, the numbers are always changing. So that's really weird. Another thing is, how the hell did they get in? I feel like somebody in that house was in on it, because you don't just get through a gated community with a bunch of security in Hollywood and then sneak in the back door like it's nothing. That's what they were saying, that one of the guys snuck in the back door. So, how the hell did they get in? Somebody had to leave it unlocked, or like tell them a way to get in, or like some kind of window was open or something. And when you're that big, you don't, you secure everything. You don't want to get caught slipping. And that's what Pop Smoke was saying in one of his last interviews with Angie Martinez. He was saying that he always tries to be very careful because he knows that one mistake could cost him his life. So, and that's what ended up happening. And another thing is, when they got in, only Pop Smoke was shot. Nobody else in the house was shot. So that was clearly a hit. There's no way that it was a robbery. And this is why I feel like TMZ has something to do with all of this, because they always say it's a robbery. And how the hell do they know that before the cops, before the FBI starts investigating? How the hell do they just know all of this? So, I don't know. Something is weird with TMZ. But moving on, another thing is, nothing was stolen. None of his change, none of his chains, none of his money, nothing. They just shot him and ran away. So that was clearly a hit. And last thing I want to say is, someone in the house. Alright, so after Pop Smoke got shot, he was still alive. So if somebody in the house would have called 911 right away for ambulance, he could have survived. But nobody in the house called 911. Nobody at all throughout the whole entire time. Somebody called their friend in New York, and then that person called 911. So that is extremely weird to me. If you have friends in your house and they don't call 911 after you're shot, those aren't your friends. So I don't know what else to say. All of this is super weird. But yeah, let me know if you guys find anything else weird with this. Subscribe. R.I.P. Pop Smoke. Peace.